Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Pool Box Pals podcast. I don't know what that sound was that I was making, but yeah, we
It
are
sounded like you're
back
trying
with
to be like a
episode.
wrestling announcer.
Who
Like
knows
you
what I
were
was trying
attempting
to
to
do?
and in the ring
Oh,
next. I don't
ladies and
know. That's just
gentlemen,
yeah.
in the red corner, weighing whatever I weigh, you have Monk. And in the blue corner, you have whatever you weigh, Mark. That wasn't a good joke. I'm sorry for everyone who had to sit through that entire spiel.
Apologies to the ears of everybody.
Wow.
Well, good
How
start.
we
How we
doing,
doing,
buddy?
buddy?
Oh, wow. We're both very concerned about how the other is doing. I'm doing all right. We had our first snow here yesterday, so that was pretty wild. And
Did
I'm
it
starting a
did
new
it
job
stick?
next week, so yeah, a little bit. It's all gone now. It was kind of a nicer day, and it rained a little bit during the night, so
Yeah, we
um
had we had our first snow here, I think 2 Sundays ago, and it was just like completely random. Like I don't think anybody was expecting it. Like it just forecasted rain for the day, but
mm,
snow's what came, and it wasn't enough for it to like stick, but it was, and it started off as like slush,
yeah.
and but
Yeah, we weren't we were very surprised at how much we got. Wow, I stumbled through that sentence just to say so little. But we're killing it here at the Pool Box Pals podcast on episode 30. How do you feel about reaching 30 episodes?
I feel like I'm stepping through a new door, like
A new door.
yeah, like a new rite of passage. We've entered the 30s, which is, the age of life that we are now. And it's just like, man, what was all that shit before?
That's pretty funny. We're going into our groove. We're figuring it out. So okay, so let's just some housekeeping up top. Uh we decided that we are going to be going on a break. We both have, the holidays coming up. My birthday's coming up. I'm starting a new job next week, so bunch of stuff going on. We're gonna be coming back then. I guess the first week of January. Is that what that we decided on?
I think that's a good
Yeah,
a good call. But we'll keep
tentatively.
everybody updated, because I mean I still plan on uh spending a little more time doing like reviews on Instagram. Like that's something I haven't had a whole lot of time for. Most of my comic book stuff goes into doing this podcast like each week.
Yeah.
But yeah, so over this break, like still keep up with us on Instagram. You might even see us get back on TikTok at that point, just depending on what time we got. And yes, if you look at the bottom of the screen, if you're watching, you could follow us at Pullbox Pals. You can follow me at mad_nerdy, and you can follow Monk at that Monk guy. Those are all our
Wow.
Instagram handles, but some of them kind of cross over to other platforms as well. But mostly you'll
Yeah.
find where to find us through Instagram.
Yeah. 100%. But since this is our last episode, we're we're not trying to be sad and somber about not hanging out for some time, because I know I love doing this, and I'm bummed that we're not going to be doing it. And I'm sure we'll still be in communication. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, we decided that we're going to do the top 10 comics of 2020. And that seems a little bit deceiving, because it sounds like we're
Yeah.
doing the top, like you and I decided,
Like
but
we
it is
took a
our
vote.
in yeah, like we
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 had
did
a
not.
we had a no, we are showing, we are coming in blind. I don't know what you did. You don't know what I did. I
Yes, we
bet we
each
can
we
guess.
each have our own top 10 is what we're
Yeah,
we're getting at. Yeah.
that's the plain way to say that. I bet I can guess what your number one is, but we're not going to do that for some time now.
I bet you anybody who has kept up with this podcast could tell you what my number one is. But we'll get
Oh my
there,
goodness. Yeah, so yeah, we're not going to be doing our pools for this week. If you want to see those, I already have mine up on my Instagram. Mark, I'm assuming you'll get around to putting up yours. If not, that's
Yeah,
fine.
I'll get there. I'll get up there.
I bel
Yeah.
I believe in you, Captain. So this is exciting. How you feeling? We were kind of talking a little bit about the list beforehand before jumping
Yeah.
on.
Well, and it was just like it was a hard task, honestly, because like, well, kind of spoiler alert, we were gonna have a friend of ours on as a guest to do. We were all three gonna do a top five, or
Hmm.
no, we are gonna do a top. We're gonna have a top three and then have a couple shout outs, is what the original plan was. But our pal
Yeah.
had to unfortunately cancel on us, and it's fine. So we're like, well, let's just do this shit still. Let's still do the last episode and let's each do a top 10. So that is where we are now. And yeah, before the show, we were talking about like kind of loosely what our process was for our top 10. And yeah, mine was kind of loose and fast.
Loose
I've
and
said,
fast.
I've said, oh, it was, I put it together pretty quick, but it also
Mm,
wasn't like, I didn't have to like debate like, oh man, should I put this one on there? Like I found 10 pretty quick. And
yeah.
and we're not doing, this is the other thing. We're not talking about like an individual comics. We're talking about like a series,
A
like
run
essentially our
or
top,
yeah,
like, yeah.
either
And
ongoing or just a one-off arc, something like that. And sorry if you can
yeah,
hear that car alarm going off in the background.
is it like the normal, like, I am a car, oil is my blood, back
No,
seat, trunk
it's a real
space.
oh no, you have a whole little song for it.
Oh, that's
Uh
that's Dane Cook back when he was popular.
Dane Cook's trying to make a renaissance now, and
Yeah, he's trying to
you
come
know,
back. Yeah.
hey, everything's having a renaissance, you know? I'm trying to think of one other thing in the entire world and I can't. But listen, this isn't called Everything Else in the Entire World podcast. It's called the Pool Box Pals. So we should be talking about our pools, but we're not doing that. We're talking about the top 10 comics of 2022 of the year our Lord.
That's
Year
right.
our
And
Lord?
you're our Lord. You're our
The
Lord.
year our Lord. Year our Lord. Oh, wow. The Americans
Yeah.
coming out in me.
No, I think that's just the Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah. Oh, boy.
We have
All
different
right. So
dialects across the states. So, how do we want to do this? Do we want to do like one at a time? Like I can do my 10 and then you say your 10 and we'll kind of just go through the first five
let's
and
go back
then
and forth. Yeah, let's just go back and forth. So you say your 10, maybe say something, a little bit of something about it, and then I'll say
okay.
something about my 10, and then
All
yeah,
right.
that's how we'll go.
Well,
Here we go.
just kind of a
I'm
little
excited.
disclaimer. Yeah, little
Oh
disclaimer
no,
here. My well, and I mentioned this to you backstage, but just so the
in
audience
the green
knows,
room.
like my my kind of final, I won't say how many of my my bottom five, but a few of them are still current and haven't even finished the first volume yet. But I just have a lot. I've really enjoyed them, and I just thought that they were fitting because their stories are very gripping, and so. Coming in at number 10, issue 4 was actually supposed to come out today, and it was not in my polls, which is, that's fine. Um,
Mm.
Coming in at number 10, I have A Calculated Man.
Oh,
So this is the one about Jack Beans. He's the guy who he used to work for the mob. He was kind of like the financial advisor of this mob. But then he decided he wanted out of that life. And so he went, to the other side. He went to the feds, the US Marshals, and got into witness protection and kind of like leaked some information. But then the mob found him and they're coming after him. And so he always knew that day was coming. And so he calculated it essentially. And like, there's an aspect to him being the financial guy for the mob. He's very good with with financial numbers, but in general, he just, he understands numbers and he also doesn't forget anything. So he has a perfect memory. Um,
yeah.
and so now this series so far has just been about him calculating out how he's going to be the one who survives. And in the first issue, we saw like, yes, the mob found him and he sent a message, but he's also like going and meeting with uh his WITSEC officer just to like catch up and see how things are doing, but he's hiding all this stuff he's doing in the background. And like issue 2, he took down like a bunch more guys, and then in issue 3, it's turned out that his WITSEC program figured out what he's up to. but like he told them like, look, I knew this day was coming, and just know that like I'm on your side, but this is my only way of like seeing through this and surviving is by killing all these people. So you know, I'm not trying to be your enemy. I'm just trying to point out like we're both American and I want to live. And like that's kind of where issue 3 left. And so issue 4 was supposed to come out today, but so far it's been super, super exciting. The art is just fantastic in it. It is a little like cartoonish, but it's like very sleek at the same time. It doesn't use very like vibrant, heavy covers, but it are colors, but it does use colors, you know, to tell the story as necessary. And so I've really been enjoying Calculated Man. I know a few other people on Instagram I've talked to who have also read it and are really enjoying it. And so
Yeah,
for
it seems
me,
very popular.
yeah. So to me, it's just like if you haven't picked this up and you're looking for something to read, this is a very fun one to get on board with. I mean, issue 4 just came out, or was supposed to come out today. It didn't end up in my box, as I said. So that means issue 5 is coming out soon, which also means that volume 1 is going to be out probably, I would guess, at the start of next year, if not by Christmas.
Yeah.
So actually, yeah, it couldn't be by Christmas. It would have to be at the beginning of next year. So
Yeah.
I would just put that trade paperback on your radar if you are interested in reading A Calculated Man.
Nice. That's a good number 10. My number 10 is the Comixology exclusive Cold Iron.
Oh, right.
We talked about this on the podcast. This was something that this was only 4 issues, which for me, I really think is like the perfect amount of issues for a comic. Now that I think about it, there's several comics that I have on my list that are only 4 issues. But yeah, it's a story about, I always forget if it's a Scottish or an Irish woman. But it's like Celtic folklore, so that would make me think that it's oh, now I don't even know which Celtic is. I'm so just making a fool out of it.
Celtic, I believe, is Irish.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I think it's Irish. I'm not 100%. Either way, of the, you know, the Highlands of the what was the United Kingdom and all that stuff. You know, that vague part of the world. There's a girl there who really wants to travel the world. She's a folk singer. She lives with her grandmother. And then one night she's driving home and she almost runs into this girl that's wearing like clothes from a long begotten time. And she takes her home to her grandmother. Grandmother's like very into like all the folklore and like all the crazy tales of the world and all that fun stuff. And I can't remember exactly what the entity is, but there's some sort of entity that like haunts the woods. And it's a really fun story of blending like I don't know, modern society in with like Irish folklore, Scottish folklore, whichever it is. I think I don't know, I see a lot more people just in society in general starting to appreciate that world and those mythologies a lot. And I think it's really cool that we're diving into those and we're not just kind of letting those stories and those worlds just kind of go by the wayside, but that we're integrating them into modern storytelling, you know?
Yeah.
The art is really great. It's just a really fun story. It's just it's a good quick romp. It ends very much like saying that, looking like there's going to be more. I haven't checked to see if there's any more, but Cold Iron, that's my number 10.
All right.
You ready? Let's keep climbing this ladder, baby. Ooh,
Let's keep climbing the ladder.
All right, we're on the first rung. All
right.
rung.
So now we're moving up to number 9. So number
ninth from
9,
the top rung.
The 9th from the top rung. Yeah. So that
get your leg
for
up.
Me. That for me right now is another one that is currently still going. I believe issue 3 is the last one that came out, and I think issue 4 might come out next week or 2. But you know, don't count on my dates because I don't think I ever get those right. But anyways, it's it's Sacrament. This is a series I was
Ooh,
actually very
wow.
surprised. Yeah, I was very, very surprised by the series because I remember like reading about it before it came out and just being like, man, this sounds like super, super dark. I don't like really know like if I want to get into this, but it just sounded so appealing. And this is the one that it's like, uh, man, I forget how they describe it, but it's like if you mixed like everything you know about Catholicism, not necessarily, well, not, let's not say
Everything I
everything,
know.
but just like when it comes to like the rites and just the religion in general, not all the shit that the Catholic people keep getting themselves into in the media, but like
Hmm.
just like the purpose of it, and then you mix that with the movie Alien, and
Mm. Oh, I
and
love
like
that so much.
and
I
it
love the
is
movie
very,
Alien.
Alien's a great movie. Aliens is a great movie. Like all like I don't know if I want to say all of that franchise is amazing, but at least the first two are amazing. So, but yeah, so Sacrament's just about this priest who he gets recruited by kind of the just I'll use Star Wars terms here, but kind of like the empire of the galaxy because humans have left Earth like long ago. It's the year 2999. And there's just colonies on these different planets. I don't really necessarily know if something like hyperspace has been made, but I would imagine that there has to be since they do travel from planet to planet. Um, but this priest gets recruited, and this is all what happens in issue one. Uh, I don't know if I'll give spoilers for the next, but issue one is essentially he gets recruited after being chased from at least off of one planet, maybe to the same planet, and then off that planet. And there's like escape routes for religious people. Oh, because religion's illegal.
Uh-oh.
You can't be a part of a
What
religion,
is
and
this,
so
China?
I know, right? Um, and
Space China?
Space China. Uh, um, so, anyways, like
Sorry.
he finally gets tracked down by like the whoever's tracking him down, like the I guess the Tarkin type person, and and basically just tells him like, hey, we're not tracking you down for reasons that we think. We're tracking you down because like I think it's one of like their lead scientists has become what apparently seems to be demon possessed, and on the
That's never
front,
good.
yeah, and unfortunately I couldn't I know I have it, it's just still in the box. I've had a very busy day, so I wasn't able to get all these out, but the cover of issue one is somebody hanging out, or sorry, not hanging out. Well, yes, hanging out, but they're kind of hung like Peter, upside down. You know, like I can't get my
Hmm.
arms on the screen, but they're hung like Jesus, but Peter, and upside down. But they're not on a cross. They're just in the air, and they're all bloody. Um, and so at the end of issue one, like that's what the priest comes to. But throughout that issue, you're also finding like this priest is struggling with his identity. He's struggling with his faith. He doesn't even know if he believes in God anymore. Like he's even vying for like there has to be a scientific like like solution behind all of this. But more and more he's just continually tested in like his faith, and he also has like a nun who travels around with him, and she's kind of the one who keeps pushing forward because she's younger and she has a much brighter look on religion and hasn't gone through as much like dark days as he has. She hasn't had any dark nights of the soul, we'll put it that way. And he
Sure.
has, because when he was a young priest, he was a part of another exorcism that went bad, and his his partner, who was his mentor, was killed by the demon, and it's like memories that he suppressed. And so yeah, issue 3 has come out, issue 4 is coming out pretty soon, and I've just really, really enjoyed it. It is a dark, exciting ride, and I very much look forward to what's coming out. And so that one, and I haven't said this, but sorry, Boogeyman, or not, sorry, not Boogeyman, spoiler, A Calculated Man came out, or sorry, didn't come out, is put out by Aftershock, and Sacrament is put out by
Mm.
AWA.
Yep. Nice. You're gonna sell me on that. I'm probably gonna end up having to get the trade paperback of Sacrament because that sounds really good.
Yeah.
It
It is
even
really
sounds like a
good.
little bit of like Exorcist in there, of like the questioning priest and all
That's
that
what it
stuff. I
was.
mean,
I don't know why I didn't think about it, but it's like when The Exorcist meets aliens, like that's kind of like the
ooh,
tagline for it. So
that sounds so
um
good. Um, all right, are you ready
cool.
for us to put the second foot up on the ninth rung? Even though
Yeah,
that's
what
not
do we
really how
got?
you climb a ladder. You kind of go like this, right? You alternate feet. So we're
Yes.
not going like we're not doing my number 10 and then your number 9 and then my number 8. That would be
Right.
ridiculous. That would
We're
be
just
climbing a
going up.
ladder.
We are going up the ladder
Yes,
of
weird. We're going like it's
10,
you're scared.
9, 8.
Anyways, um I don't know why I'm thinking about like music videos like in the 90s of just like counting down music videos of like top 10 music videos. But anywho, speaking of top 10 music videos, I would watch this if this was a music video. I don't know what that means. Number 9 for me is Above Snakes. I don't know how to swing
Hmm.
into this any other way. But
I knew this was going to be on your list, and I was curious to see where it landed.
yeah, and the only reason I have it down so low is because this is the last issue. I haven't read it yet. There has been the second issue in this was a little bit of a dip for me, but everything else in this I really enjoyed. Hayden Sherman is one of my favorite artists. They're on a lot of stuff, and it's weird that this is the only thing by them on this list, which is crazy to me. Um, but yeah, Above Snakes is about this guy named Dirt who's got this like ghost vulture that walks around with him. He's seeking vengeance on the Above Snakes gang for a crime that they committed against him. I don't really want to spoil too much, but yeah, I'm trying to think of like not just talking about the story of the thing, but like what's something I really liked. I mean, I really love the art. I really love the dynamic ship. That's not a word. The relationship or the dynamic between Dirt and his vulture. It's very funny. And
You really
yeah,
got me
there's
going on dynamic ship.
the dynamic ship. The dynamic ship is strong. Um, but yeah, there's just like a lot of really good jokes. I think you there's a little bit of twists and turns along the way. I would be very shocked if this. I kind of wish I would have read it before we would have done this, and I could have given it more of like a definitive placing. But I kind of feel like I know where it's gonna land. Maybe I say that, but I don't really. I'm sure there will be like some sort of twist.
Yeah.
But well, he's either gonna die or like they're gonna, you know, they're gonna try to continue it on, or he's gonna get his piece. There's only so many ways it can go, maybe. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I've been really enjoying it. I 100% plan on going back and rereading it. But yeah, Sean, I've been picking up other stuff by this team. I'm sure if I was reading it, this is just like a quick shout out to something else, but Dark Space Wildfires. I've heard really good things about that. I've decided to wait until it's all out to just read it all together. But yeah, I'm sure Hayden Sherman is on that as well with Scott Snyder, and just the two of them together, I'm sure is a wildfire.
Woohoo!
All right, what do you got for number 8? I feel like we're
All
going through
right.
these pretty slow. Are we going through this slow,
We,
or are we going through this
I
too
think,
fast?
well, yes, I think we are going a little slow, and we could speed it up a little bit. So I'm going to be quick
All
about
righty,
this, and
let's
I
see what we
kind
can
of
do.
already spoiled it. But at number 8, this is another one that is still currently going. It's not even through its first volume yet, but The Boogeyman. Um, and I did spoil it just a bit ago. So
Ooh,
I'm really enjoying The
Freudian
Boogeyman
slip.
because it's a folkloric like horror tale. So it is like deep diving into the lore and of the boogeyman, but it's also in like kind of a modern day setting, and it's about this boogeyman who kind of grew a heart for the person he boogies. I guess the person he like scares, and that person whose house he's lived in. and
That's a good one.
But the art is just fantastic. It's done by Jet, and then the writer is Matthew Salvia. And then this is from Ablaze. And something Ablaze does is they try to bring comics from around the world and translate them into English. And so I can't remember specifically where this team is from, but it is a Hispanic country because you can also get this series in Spanish, which I've considered doing because I've been trying to study up on Spanish, but that's neither here nor there because that's about talking language. We're talking comics, and but yeah, the
Yeah, what
art
is
is
this?
just phenomenal. It really
Oh, I
helps
can't think
tell
of
the
a wiki
story.
name.
You don't need to, not right now, because I'm telling you how
What is this?
good
The
the art is.
Myers-Briggs podcast? Oh,
Yeah.
geez.
Oh boy.
This
But
isn't
yeah,
good.
so
I'm sorry.
but yeah, so Matthew Sylvia has just come up with a really brilliant idea for kind of like refreshing what we understand of the boogeyman and doing it through the eyes of a child. And the art that is done by Jet is just so captivating. It's very slick. It's very detailed, and it really does just help tell the story. And as we know, that is something that I look for in a comic: is does the art tell the story more than the actual words do? And to me, this is one of the ones that does. So Boogeyman comes in at number 8 for me.
Nice.
What do you got at
A
your
good one.
number 8?
My number 8 is a comic today that I was just I was organizing my comic my long boxes, and I was organizing this here comic, and it is I Hate This Place. This was kind
Interesting.
of like this was kind of like a silent sleeper for me this year. Uh, I I remember every time I got it in my pull box, I was very excited about it. I was like, "Oh, cool, yay!" And at no point in time did the story. I mean, it dipped a little bit. I think my only real problem with the story was how I kind of approached it. I forgot too much in between readings, but everything that I read was very enjoyable. Um, but the story is that this couple inherits this farm that is like incredibly haunted and cursed. Um, and it's an ongoing series, so they did just wrap up the first arc. It's from Image Comics, and um, yeah, so it's essentially they're cursed, and so they have to remain on the farm, or else anywhere they go, they kind of bring that curse with them, and people begin to be affected by it. Uh,
Hmm.
Um, so they have a
Yeah.
lot of like exorcists and like stuff like them come to the farm. There's some family drama involved and all that stuff. Uh, yeah.
And what
So
issue is that series on? Is it done, or like did it finish the
no, it's
first?
it's ongoing. Um, and it just finished up the first volume.
Okay,
So
because this
I would
is this
imagine
is
that the
one that
first
I
one will be out like
also,
spring or something.
yeah, I had started out with this one and I dropped it. Um, and I've often
Oh, I
considered
forgot about
reasons.
that.
Yeah, I've tried to consider reasons as to why, because I was just like, you know what? I think I initially didn't get like the next issue. Um,
Hmm.
but like at the same time, I already had so many other kind of like horror genre stuff going on. And
Yeah.
I just like, for me, I was just like, I get where they're going. I did enjoy the art for it. But I just didn't think that I needed another one. And also, probably at that time, like you and I were reading so many of the same things already that I was like, you know what, Tim can just have that one. I mean, sorry, Monk can have that one. Um,
That's so fine.
so
But thank you for that, because I did really enjoy it. The art was fantastic. One of my favorite characters in it is this one. I mean, he's in it for a while. It's an exorcist that they have come, but he's like the Rambo of exorcists kind of things. Um, yeah, and it's
yeah,
just like a comic that I'm sure that is on this list for both of us down the line. Something that we really appreciated. It was just for the like the wacky things that the art or like the creators were allowing their imagination to go to, of like, oh, here's the really cool stuff. Like, what's a cool looking zombie or a cool looking creature that we can make. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, that was that for me, man. Let's climb on up a number rung and see what you
All
got at number
right.
7.
So number 7, I actually like kind of forgot about this one. I listened to another comic book podcast, and they had talked about just buying the trade paperback, because I think the trade paperback for it came out. It came out today. I'm looking at that right now, and
Woo.
but the last issue came out back in April, and so the trade paperback is now, this is 7 months later that it's coming out, and so people are just starting to read it. And I think uh, one of these guys on the other podcast, they had it in their like pull list, maybe, I'm not really sure, but they were planning on reading it, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I forgot about that one, but like I remember loving it. And then I thought about it more. I'm like, no, I really did love it. The only thing I didn't like was, and this is kind of common for me, but I didn't really like the last issue, just because it was very cliche. Like it was just like, oh, of course it went there. But like the story building up is just absolutely amazing. The artwork in just the characters, like the character development for one was one thing, but just the artwork on the character development and how they were able to express themselves is amazing. And this series was called Last Flight Out, and it was a story about an absentee father whose daughter has also grown up to become a brilliant scientist. The dad is like the smartest scientist on the planet, and he's trying to figure out how to get people off of Earth before Earth is done and can't inhabit people anymore. But his daughter started dating his ex protege, who was on the opposite mind of science, where he thought Earth is still worth saving and we can still do it. And so there was kind of this like father daughter and this like daughter in love storyline going on throughout the whole just debacle of, do we get everybody off the planet? Do we stay on the planet? And like uh, it was just thrilling. It was fun. It had a lot of action and it had a lot of emotion to it. And again, yes, the art was just fantastic. So yeah, trade paperback came out today. So if you're interested in that, I recommend picking that one up. And
Also, that was a pot. Go ahead. You say what you're gonna say.
I was just gonna say that was written by Mark Guggenheim, and the artist was Eduardo Ferragato.
Yeah, we've been just kind of naming who wrote these and stuff at random if we remember them and whatnot. But I wanted to say that I remember you started reading that at the beginning of the podcast. I think that might have been even the first like episode title might have had that in it or something like that. Because I was remembered I was thinking about jumping in on too. And man, if the trade paperback's out, what's the publisher? It's a weird one, isn't it?
No, it might be Dark Horse. Hang on, sorry, I have it right here.
When I just one it's
not, it is, yeah, it's Dark Horse.
Sure. Wow, look at me being right.
There you
go. I don't read a whole lot of stuff by Dark Horse, so that would be nice to have something from Dark Horse.
Yeah, but, well, go get yourself some Last Flight Out. Yeah, what do you got at number 7?
I got at number 7 the Ant-Man 60th year anniversary story arc. I don't know what it would be called. In my head, it's called the Ant Vengers, because I just love that phrase. It was used somewhere in the marketing for this story. But yeah, so this is just a look back at over 4 arcs. There's another one that was 4 issues, or not 4 arcs, sorry, 4 issues rather. And again, that's probably why I really liked it. But it was a story that kind of went over the history of Ant-Man, the 3 current different incarnations, and introducing a new one that's off in the future. And it was great because it was just like a kind of like a fun little romp through comic history. The first issue with the original Hank Pym this was very much set back in the 60s, or back in, I guess, the 40s or whenever it would have been, or not the 40s, the 60s, yeah. And it was really cool just to see all the really lame villains that they had, and like all the just the super like uncool tropes that they had. But they were being it was just a lot of fun to see like how these old lame comics were kind of used in a fun way again. And I really love the villain of the arc. And I didn't tell you what this was, and I've given you plenty of time to read it, but I'm going to spoil it for you now. What the villain was, but the villain
No,
was
just kidding.
a oh no, the villain is a Ultron that has the Odin Force. So it
No,
is
you did
this
tell me
like
that.
super. Did I tell you this? Did I tell you
Yeah,
that off mic? I must have told you.
I'm not.
I only know the canon pole box pal lore. I don't know what happens off this microphone. I don't remember any of
Yeah,
our history together.
no, because I remember you talking about Ultron having the Odin Force. I
Oh,
can't
well, never mind.
specifically
I
tell you
spoiled
when
it.
that was, but no, that's
But
awesome.
yeah,
No,
I really
I I
I really
I do
enjoyed
want to read it.
that concept.
I'm yeah, because the issue 4 came out not too long ago, right?
No,
Like
not
that
that
was like
long ago.
within a month.
No, within like 2 or 3 probably.
Okay, so it might be coming out on
Maybe.
Marvel Unlimited pretty soon. And so I was kind of waiting
Yeah.
for all 4 to be on Marvel Unlimited so I could just bust them out. But I do plan on reading it when I see it on there. All 4. I just haven't looked in a while.
But yeah, I really enjoyed the art. I enjoyed the story. I thought it was just a great comic for what, a comic does, is just delivering us a good tale to just, to behold. But
Mm.
I'm excited for, what are we at now? Number 6. I'm excited for this
Number
because
6.
I'm hoping that this might be, if we're gonna get any overlap, this is gonna might be the one that we overlap. Let's see.
Okay,
I'm
let's see, because you saying that kind of has me excited because you might be right. I'm just gonna give you the. I'm just gonna. It's a WTFPFH.
yes, yes,
What the
that's
furthest?
fantastic.
What's the furthest place from here? I have it number
Oh
6.
my
You have that
goodness,
at your number
me
6.
too.
That is
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, this has been a really, really fun series. And I honestly like
Oh my
debated with
goodness,
this,
yeah.
like now that we're getting into the top 6, this is where I started struggling on like what order do I want these to be in? Because like they're all
Hmm.
really great. And yeah, I put this one at number 6. For no other reason than like I think I slightly like the ones above it a little bit better. But this story is just so just fun. It's different. It's not what you normally get out of a comic. The art is just very telling of the story as well, because like there is like a
Hmm.
musical background to this. Like if you there's certain issues that you can buy a vinyl along with the issue that you can
Every
listen to,
issue.
and there's yeah every issue. No, I sorry, I meant like certain variants of the issue
Oh
have a
right, yeah.
vinyl. And it's just again, like adults are gone and kids kind of just are roaming the earth, and they all have their little like cliques and different like sects of different cities and different like landscapes. And it's I guess in a way it is a little Lord of the Fliesy, but it's just done in a more modern and broader way,
Yeah, and
and not just
it's
on an
such an
island.
interesting it's such an interesting world too, because not just
Hmm.
in the people, but it feels like even the world itself is not really real, because the way everyone acts is a little like trip. I don't want to say trippy, but everyone seems to be like in a dream. Does that make sense? Because
Yeah,
even when people die, people aren't like people get upset, but it's just kind of just like, oh, Phil, and then like they just kind of keep on rolling.
yeah,
But I mean, that's not like, that's, people obviously have a lot of emotions, but it does feel very much just like a music video, where it is
yeah,
there's a point A and a point uh Z, like they're telling the story, um
yeah,
I really enjoyed, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, at the opening pages you could see the entire list of people, all the
yeah.
characters, and just X's through them as they were getting killed off through the series. It's like, yeah, it's like The Walking Dead meets I don't know, like Archie or something like that, but it's probably not Archie, but like
No,
something very
it
like,
does kind of have like kind of archiistic vibes, like the classic Archie.
yeah.
But yeah, it does just kind of stand out on its own with art, which is let's see, I got them right here. So this is done by Matthew Rosenberg and Tyler Boss, with Tyler Boss doing the art.
So
And
just a real quick note on them. I read an arc by them that I have. No, I don't have it up anymore. I used to have it up on my wall, called Dead Dog's Bite, and that's a very good tale as well. That's very similar. It's just a very trippy story that has a little bit more of an arc and a narrative to it. This is kind of a little bit more of just like, this is like one of those weird like indie movies where you're just kind of watching it and you're like, did anything happen? Like what? Like the story isn't very traditional, and
yeah,
even in like this telling of it, you don't even really know what's happening. You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah, no, like there's like this is one of those series too that it's like you get enough answered in each issue to kind of, that answers the questions that you were left with the previous issue. But
Mm-hmm.
it really is just done in this way where it's like, I want to know what's coming and I want to know what's going to happen next. And
Yeah,
that's just something I
100%.
really appreciate about it. So, yeah, what's the
And
furthest
also,
place
like
from here?
the art,
I think that
the
I
art
was just
could whoop.
Yep. I was just gonna say
The art
this is
cannot.
also
Oh God, we did it again.
this is just one of those ones that it did start in 2021, but like issue 4, I think, kicked off in January of this year, and I think issue 7 is coming out soon, or has come
No,
out,
it's
and
already out.
yeah,
Yeah,
so issue
I
8's
think
what's
we
coming
were.
out next.
You read it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure number 7. Um,
yeah. You're right.
but it cannot be understated how good the art is on this. Um,
Yeah.
uh, oh, nice. We got our good buddy Carl swinging by. Carl
Hey,
saying, "What
Carl.
up? What up? Going to pick up my pools right now." Nice. Well, you jumped in at the perfect time for us to enter into the top 5 Pool Box Pals comics of 2022 individually. Again, not we didn't make a poll between the two of us.
Yeah, we didn't. There's no
Um,
voting involved.
yeah,
Um,
from now on, I feel like we probably will only have like maybe one more similar one.
Maybe, yeah. But let's get into it. So top
Go ahead,
5.
your top
My
5.
number 5. Something that happened for me this year is that I read a lot of Jeff Lemire, and I really felt like he needed to be somewhere in my top 5. But I also had to pick like which one of his is going to be there, and it's not. I
Yeah.
don't think it's not one that I think you're going to expect. It's
Oh,
with
interesting.
yeah, because you didn't like it. It's Little Monsters.
Oh, wow. At number
Yeah.
5.
At number 5,
Interesting.
I have Little Monsters. The art is done by Dustin Nyan, and I told you last week because issue 7 just recently came out. Issue 7 took such a turn that it was like it's like, yeah, like the first 6 issues, like they all had their own story to them. Some of them made me really angry because I was just like, what the fuck? Like I'm kind of mad at this. But the art has just been like brilliant throughout, and like Jeff Lemire has a way of kind of painting the picture that he's telling, and does a lot of foreshadowing in almost
Mhm.
we're trying to keep it spoiler free, Carl. We're trying, but these are also things that have come out this year and should have had ample time to have read if you wanted to read it. But yeah, so Little Monsters issue 7. There's only 9 issues in total, as far as I understand. So there's only 2 more coming. But issue 7 just took such a turn that it was like this was all worth waiting for, even if you did like not enjoy every issue leading up to it. And I'm very excited for the next 2 issues that are coming out. Like Jeff Lemire, also, in my opinion, he kind of does these things on purpose where you might
Mhm.
not like every single issue that comes out. Like I'm thinking back to like Primordial. I really like that overall as a series, but did I like each issue? Not really. Like I would much rather have actually just gotten that as a trade paperback and just read that. But like
Yeah.
the time waiting between was just so aggravating because like I wasn't even sure if I enjoyed the story. The art's what kept me in it. But then when the story
Yeah.
completed and I saw where it was all going, and it's like, yes, this is amazing. So yeah, I have Little Monsters at number 5.
I was I was debating about putting May's book on because of that we read a lot of Jeff Lemire this past year. They rhyme unless you
Yeah.
say it, then they don't rhyme. But yeah. Um so no, but May's book I definitely would have been my favorite out of, because those were coming out at the same time. We reviewed those at the same time. May's book definitely would have been my favorite. So those quick, just uh Sorrento is a powerhouse.
Sorrentino, yeah, he's the artist for Primordial.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So
Well,
that's
and
a
he's also
powerhouse
he's also who's
indeedly
doing
do.
the Bone Orchard mythos with Jeff Lemire right now. So
Okay, really?
yeah,
Oh, that's
like
tempting.
his art is just like fantastic. I'm sorry, I thought I had one of them around me, but I don't. I was gonna pull it down just so, but yeah, I don't have it.
No, well.
Oh
But
well.
you wanna hear my number 5?
Yeah, what do you got at number 5? What do you got there?
We are
Yes,
like,
and Gideon
oh,
Falls.
he also does the Gideon Falls?
Yeah,
Oh no, then I guess I do have to jump on that because that yeah, that's what everyone's been telling me, and that art is fantastic. So I need to read that. That's what maybe I'll try to read that over this break here. But yeah, my number 5 is Not All Robots by Mike Russell or I think it's Mike Russell. Let me look that up Mark Russell and Mike Teo Jr. Um, I was a huge fan of this story, just the concept of it, the how do you say it? The sarcasm of it, the tone of it. It was very like one thing. Uh, Mark Dedato Jr.'s art, I feel like wouldn't normally be something that I'm attracted to because it's so heavy and dark and like very strong. Um, but I feel like it does such a good job in this universe because he's drawing like your normal like I guess I haven't even said the premise, but so the premise of Not All Robots is that every family has a robot that is assigned to do work for them, and then they bring home the salary for the family. And the corporation that made all the robots is currently working on this like humanoid thing. So it's essentially going to be putting the robots out of a job. So they're kind of in the same position that humans were in when robots were first existed. And robots also at this point like really don't care about humans. So by the end of the story, you're seeing this like need for the humans and the robots to kind of work together to be able to, make sure that the humanoids don't become the next step in, the production future or whatever it is. But there's just a
yeah,
lot of really cool stuff along the way. Like I was saying, going back to what I was saying about Mike Didato's art, it does such a good job in this world because he's drawing just like your normal, like everyday person, but it's also just very like heavy. It's very like the shadows are very dark, if you know what I mean. It's just
yeah,
like there's a lot of just like weight hidden on people's shoulders, and just you can tell that the people who live in this world aren't happy that they're there. And the art is very reflective of that, even though it kind of looks like it would be a nicer world to live in. The robots have really silly personalities. It's fun. Yeah, it's just it's a darn good read. So I'm happy that made it to my top 5. Yeah, so that's Not All Robots.
all right. Um, at number 4, that's what we're moving up to now. Uh, I'm curious. I'm
Oh my
curious
goodness.
if this made it on your list or not. Um, this is one that I think I convinced you it was worth reading. I don't know if you pulled issue 1 initially, and I just told you like this is gonna be great. And a lot of our Instagram pals have also been reading it as well. But it's 8 Billion Genies.
That's so funny. That's what I have at number 4 as well. Jesus Christmas.
So we had 4 and 6 together. That's awesome. Yeah, so 8
Wow.
Billion Genies, this is kind of a brainchild of Charles Soule, who, you know, I was turned on to Charles because of all of his Star Wars stuff that he does. But 8 jillion
Hey,
beanies.
Jillian. I don't even know how many that is. That's
It's a bit.
unfathomable.
It's a bit, and the
It's
art
a bit.
is Ryan Brown, I believe. 8 Billion Genie is just fantastic. I'm very
Yes, it is.
excited for I think the next issue 6 comes out next week. There's 8 issues in total. Like, obviously it's 8 Billion Genies. Everything's done by eights in this series.
Mhm.
The art is just impeccable. The way that Ryan Brown
Mhm.
constructs each panel, and like the use of genies kind of being able to uh, not just break the fourth wall, but it seemingly just break all walls.
Yeah.
Like, it's so well done. The story, the art, the colors, the lettering, all fantastic. It definitely deserves to be in the top 5. Um, I wanted to keep my top 3 kind of more personal to me, because I don't think anything in my
Yeah,
top 3 is
same.
going to be what you have. But if there is a
Same.
comic that by the end of this year everybody took a vote on, I would expect to see 8 Billion Genies kind of near the top.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, man. Like the reality is I think that this could definitely be in the top 3 depending on like how it ends, you know? But I think
Right.
just where it's at, the story that it kind of is, it's just so damn good. And like sometimes you feel like a sports caster when you're talking about things like this, but I would definitely just be like, he's hot, he's on fire. You're never gonna see somebody coming out of Sacramento like this. See what our Carl said. I wanted
Yeah.
to pull that as soon as it was announced because I love curse words, but
I
just
want
by
to
the
read
same
curse
team.
words. I haven't read that
Yeah,
one yet, but
I was
it's on
googling around.
my want list, is to get curse words
I
eventually.
mean,
So
if it's anything as nearly as good as this, then you have to read it. I kind of hinted at it earlier when I was talking about I forget which comic. Oh, I hate this place. But I really one of my favorite things about this comic is just the background. You can always look in the background and there's something kind of something's happening.
there's
The
something like
art is
silly or serious, like just plain fun
yeah,
comics. Yeah.
that's yeah. Carl said it best, just plain fun comics. And that's yeah, the premise is really cool. The characters that you meet really make sense and are like really representative of how people would act in this world. Um, the premise is that everybody gets a genie, and
Oh yeah.
can't even remember if we said it, but like, yeah, from Image Comics, it's so great. Um, you to our personal top threes. We both picked personal ones.
We did.
Personal ones.
So these were all ones. I was kind of surprised by what I put at number 2, but number 3, number 3, I don't know anybody else who read it. Nobody on Instagram ever said anything about it to me. I like, for my top 3, I actually looked up like on Comic Book Roundup what the average critic reviews were of my top 3, as well as the average like reader's review, like out of 10. And this
Hmm.
one kind of comes in a little low to me. It comes in with an average critic rating of 7.6 and 7.7 for the reader. But
Interesting.
it's Bylines in Blood. I don't know if you
Oh,
remember me
okay.
getting this one, but I absolutely loved it. It was only, it was your perfect amount of comics for a series. It was 4 issues. Um,
Oh,
it's
hold on real
from,
quick.
yeah,
I remember getting this because I can't tell you how many times I found this comic in a pile of mine somewhere, and I'm just like, "Oh yeah, I have bylines by the blood or whatever it's called." But
yeah,
just to say, I have never read it, but I know that I have issue 1 somewhere probably, or I gave it to
yeah.
someone, but maybe it's like cursed and it keeps coming back to my house.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give you the whole spiel here of like, if you're just gonna go online and see what it has to say. But this is published by Aftershock. The story is by Erica Schultz and Van Jensen, and the art is just Anarchy is the only name that I found. Apparently, I think I may have just forgot to put in the last name. And lettering is done by Cardinal Ray. And so the summary of this, like if you went to the website for Aftershock to read about it, it would say the future, the very concept of truth has died. Politicians invent their own facts, and independent newspapers no longer exist. In this world, private detectives serve as Ronin, searching out the hard truths that people are desperate to keep hidden. The best of these is Satya. This is the main character, and they know her as Lady Dick, a former journalist turned gumshoe who runs every lead to the ground. But Satya has just received her hardest case yet. Her old editor has been murdered. Someone wanted him silenced, and the trail points toward the highest bastions of power. To find justice for her friend, she'll have to put everything and everyone she knows at risk. And it really was just a complete like story. Once you like every single issue when it ended, you were just ready for the next one. Like you just had so much excitement. It's a classic kind of detective noir, like journalist story, but it's done in like kind of the future as stated in the summary. And I just really enjoyed it. I think it deserves higher than a 7.6. I would honestly probably give it like more of like a whole other points up of like a 8.6. But yeah, if you see this one on shelves, I'm not sure if the trade paperback for it has come out yet, but if you can get your hands on all 4 issues, I think it's worth the read.
Yeah, we definitely really loved on Aftershock Comics this year. I'm looking back over my list, and I'm not seeing anything on here, sadly, from Aftershock.
Boo,
Yeah,
just
it's a
kidding.
bummer. I know, but yeah, just shout out to Aftershock because they did really put out a lot of really great comics.
I need to look at something earlier. I figured out if you go to League Comic Geeks, you can look at your stats.
Oh boy, what's
And
that saying?
oh, hang on, that's not the one I wanted to be at.
Oh no.
There we go. Pull list
Uh-oh.
stats. There we go. Aftershock makes up 7.5% of my polls this year out of,
That seems incredibly low.
no, but out of like 7 different ones, I mean, 24% was Marvel comics.
Well, that makes sense with
16%.
all your Star Wars comics.
Yeah, Dark Horse came in at 16.7, Image 12.5, Scout 12.5. Boom has 5%, DC 5%, Vault has 4, Artists and Writers has 3, Ablaze has 2, and then there's the other category that takes up the rest.
There you go. Huh. There you go. I'm gonna have to start categorizing that stuff better. That's very interesting to me. So I would like to know me statisticos.
Yeah.
But all right.
But
So
yeah,
you ready for
but to put it in other terms, Aftershock is number 5 in my top 5 most pulled
okay.
publishers this year. So,
That's not bad.
anyways, yes. What do you got at number 3 there, pal?
So my number 3, pal, is it's a story that was told in 4 issues. So that's great. One of my favorites. The art was, I believe it was done by Marta Dato Jr. I'm not 100% sure. I'm actually going to look that up real quick. But for sure, the story was written by Jeff McCumsey, who is when I started getting back into reading independent comics, Jeff McCumsey wrote this story called Greenwich, Kentucky. I think that's the name of it. Grendel, Kentucky. And I really loved it. It was, like I said, it was one of my first indie comics that I ever really read. And that was from that was from Upshot Comics. As this is as well. Yeah, okay, so the art is Mike Didato Jr., but enough of me stalling and beating around the bush. The comic is called The Fourth Man.
Okay.
Which, yeah. What are you reaching for? Are you gonna surprise me? What do you do?
Well, I still have my first 2 issues here
Okay.
unread because I still haven't gotten the last 2 issues.
Ah, that's
So
such a bummer. Full disclosure, I completely forgot that you had those, and I was maybe thinking about ordering you something. But who knows what's gonna happen for Christmas. Keep looking up at that chimney, young lad. Um, but just to get into this story, so oh good, you did look up into a chimney. But so this story takes place in a small Pennsylvanian town, which is where I take place, and so I felt close to home and relatable. Not really, because the content of the story isn't anything about what my life is about, but we essentially jump in on these detectives that are called into this morgue in this small town in Pennsylvania where there's 3 dead bodies, and they've all come in over the last like 48 hours or something like that. And this is pretty unusual for this small town. So that's why they call in outside detectives. And the storytelling in this is so super fascinating because it's told almost in reverse, because you pick up on like the third day of the story. I'm pretty sure it might be the third day, because I feel like they're
Mm,
going off a lot of that 4 tropes. But we pick up later in the story, and then each body that they examine tells a story that goes back farther into the story of how they all ended up
yeah,
dead in this morgue. And the storytelling is just top notch. It is phenomenal. Um, yeah, the art, I can't praise that enough. It's again that heaviness that Mike Didato Jr. is just famous for. Um, yeah, the fourth man. There's I can't really say too much about spoiling a lot of it, so that's why I'm just kind of beating around the bush and just being really vague. But uh, yeah, if you're looking for a good, this is a little bit noir because it is kind of following a detective, but it's
hmm
small town. It's there's crime. There's just what does it look like for a person in a town who's in organized crime to some degree. They get disrespected, and yeah, a story like that. And I'll just leave it like that. But the way that the story is told itself is just top notch. So definitely
yeah.
recommend The Fourth Man.
I'm excited for that one. It's on my list, as they say. So
You'll as they say.
yeah, so I'll get there. Well, number two,
Oh boy.
I was honestly a little shocked that this one ended up there. But I really tried to like think about how I really like kind of took stories as
Feel.
they came. And so this one kind of came out when like there was a ton of different vampire stories coming out. I mean, Little Monsters started around the same time. West of Sundown started around the same time. DC was doing DC versus vampires at the time. Like there was just a lot of vampire stuff going on. Um, and so this one I'm talking about, I think, do I have one behind me? I do.
Oh
The
no.
latest
There's a
issue,
vampire behind you.
Bloodstained Teeth.
Oh, the
Yeah,
blood-stained teeth.
the Bloodstained Teeth.
Now, is that
The
still
reason
ongoing?
I don't,
Oh
I
no, we
think it
just wrapped it
hasn't.
up, Les.
Well, no, there's
It,
the new arc is starting, but I'm not sure if there's
that's right.
plans for because this issue had a guest artist, this last one. But the reason this one ended up here is because I think it's the most original vampire story that I have heard in years. Like for the most part,
Interesting.
like every vampire story plays on the same tropes. And like this one still has them there, but I've never heard of a story that's, there's like the vampires, and then there's the vampires that are created by vampires, which were called sips in this one, and they're not as powerful or as really as cool as normal vampires. um and the premise of this one is that it's shoot, what's his name, Sloan, I think, the main character.
Sure.
He's known as Mr. Bite and to the public, and what he does is that humans hire him to bite them so that they can be vampires. And he's like, yeah, why not make a buck or two off of this? Anyways, the High Council, which is not led by Dracula, but the first vampire is actually Bram Stoker, who wrote the book Dracula, and then his son is Dracula in this series. You know, the High Council's like, yeah, you can't do that. You got to go back and find all your sips and kill them. And so, like, that's how this series starts out. Like, that's what the first arc is about. And the second arc has started off with one of the sips who has her own path of vengeance that seems like it's going to start crossing over with Sloane's. And you know, I can't say any more than that because I don't know what's come after issue 6. And like, there's a reason they brought on a guest artist for issue 6. Like issue 7 and beyond is going back to the original artist. I have it listed right here, Christian Ward. Or no, sorry, it's written by Christian Ward. The artist is Patrick Reynolds, which I've read that Patrick Reynolds is kind of like a hot up and comer artist.
Ooh,
And if you've read Bloodstained Teeth, like you can see why, because it is just so dynamic. It's so vibrant. The colors tell the story that's going on in each panel in such a way that you're just like very captured in there. It kind of reminds me a bit of like how Jack Kirby used to use very bright colors in his comics way back in the day. And the use of shadows, I don't know if there's a better comic out there like presently. Like I'm not talking about stuff that's come from the past that it's influenced, but like this year, the use of shadows in this comic is you know, fantastic. So this is put out by Image Comics. I already mentioned the story creator and the artist. The colors are done by Heather Moore, and she does a fantastic job. And this guy's probably been on my top 10 list for a few of these issues or series because it's Hassan Atsmain-Elahu, who
nice
comes up a lot in lettering. Atticus Sloane, I had it written down. Atticus Sloane is the main character. So that is my number 2. I don't know when the first trade paperback's coming out, but I do. I recommend it. I keep loving it more and more because I did not really enjoy it at first, but the more that it went on, the more I began to enjoy it.
Nice. I'm gonna have to check if that's an up and coming artist. I'm gonna have to. And that's who? What was the publisher for that again?
It's Image.
Image. Okay, I'm thinking of what's the vampire story from Aftershock. I think I actually think I can't remember what I'm thinking of. Never mind. But I'm gonna have to check that out. That definitely that definitely seems like a very original premise of an original take on it. I'm glad that, like I said earlier for Cold Iron, I'm glad that a lot of these stories are still like remaining within the zeitgeist and not like you know, going away outside of modern storytelling. But speaking of going away from something, are you ready for my number 2?
Who does number 2 work for?
I don't know.
Sorry,
That's
Austin Powers. It just popped into my head. I'm sorry.
Wow.
I apologize to everybody.
It's okay.
Yeah, what do you got for number 2 there?
So number 2 is this story, man. I don't know what about it I really enjoyed. Let's see if I can figure it out. Let's do it right now here live. It was just such a joy to see it pop up in my pool box. Like every time it popped up, I was just like, yes, thank God that I get to go back into this world. And part of that is just really because the art was so phenomenal, but also because the concept of the world was very phenomenal. I'm a huge fan of.
Does it have to do with vampires?
No.
Okay, that's not what I'm thinking of. Go on. I was going to try and guess. I was wondering if it was maybe Midnight Western Theater, but I think that was actually last year.
That was last year because I definitely looked into that. But yeah, so the story is, oh no.
Sorry.
It is
tickle.
Oh God, I keep trying to say it and then you
sorry,
keep building the tension. All right, here we go. My number 2 comic that I was just talking about a little bit is Dark Beach comic. I just don't know why I said comic. It's Dark Beach. I really enjoyed Dark Beach, man. It was just a really fun story. So the Earth is far away from the sun. There's oh my God, I always get it backwards about it's so funny that's my number 2 comic and I can't even fully remember the story is. But the sun was there's the sun. Oh my goodness, Earth has drifted away from the sun, and that the main narrative is that the sun. Oh my goodness, the sun was about to explode like Mark's phone, and then they had to put rockets on the planet and essentially shift it off. But that's not really what happened. What really happened involved billionaires shooting rockets into the sun and a whole bunch of stuff. But the world was such a fun combination of like Southern California and future like dystopian cyberpunk world, and also like it was very noir-y. So it was a lot of my favorite genres or feelings or whatever all just kind of blended together into one. um it definitely sets up for another arc, which I'm really looking forward to, because the premise of that I also think is an incredibly great premise. um what's something that's really cool, another really great thing about this comic is that there's an issue that's done by a completely different artist, and the reason that that's done is because the whole story is told from a different person's perspective, and there's different times when we jump back to that person's perspective and we go back to that artist, and I just feel like that's really cool. I didn't even say
Yeah.
this, but the story is by Michael Ruiz Unger, and the art is Sebastian Perez, who follows me on Instagram. So shout out to him for doing that, because that's really cool. But
Right on.
man, I really love Dark Beach. It's from Behemoth Comics, which is now Sumerian Comics. But
Uh-huh.
I will definitely be getting the trade paperback of that whenever I come across it. But
Right on.
can I we're going into the number ones now, buddy.
We're doing number one.
If I can guess
You're
what your number one is, can you give me $1 million?
no, but you can guess all you want because you'll probably get it right.
It will.
You want to take
I feel like
take
you'll
a
have.
guess? You want to introduce my
I feel
number
like.
one for me?
Yes. You know what? I will, because I feel like you'll be able to introduce my number one for me.
Oh man, I sure hope so. I'm not. I have an idea, but I'm probably gonna get it wrong. But we'll see.
Oh, really? I'm feeling pretty
Yeah.
confident. Now that
All
you said
right.
that, I'm not feeling as confident, but I'm gonna have to say that this would be Mark Dillon's. You open up page one and you can hear the river or whatever it is. Um,
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
it is A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance
That is
from Image
absolutely right.
Comics. All
Yeah.
right, take it away,
I
buddy.
really
Let's hear it.
I mean, I really don't know if I need to say much more about it. I mean, I don't think there's a comic I've ranted about more throughout this podcast so far. So if you've listened to past episodes, you've listened to me just go on and on about how great of a story it was. Um one of the reviews I wrote, I think maybe about issue 6, I think my opening sentence was like, I've really never in my life experienced storytelling quite like this, because
Hmm.
it really is like, yes, from page one, like as you zoom in on Vancouver, BC, like you can hear the sounds, like you can feel the atmosphere. When there's tense scenes in a panel, like you can feel that tension. You can like, there's so little dialogue like throughout the entire series, and so much of it is just told from the artistic perspective of the use of the panels. And the like just the capturing of the faces and the emotion on the faces of the characters, when certain characters either die or get away from like said situation, it's all just done so brilliantly that I kind of want to start shutting up about it, because I just, if you haven't read it, go get it. Like, I don't want to talk about how good it is anymore, because it is that good that you should have already gone out and got it and read it. I bought my brother, or I bought the first trade paperback for volume 1, and I gave it to my brother-in-law, and he like always apologizes to me because like it's still in my nightstand. I'm like, man, I know you'll get to it when you get like can, but like I just want to tell him like, dude, just go home and read it. Like, just do it, because you're gonna want to get the rest of it. It's so good. So
Oh my
let me
gosh.
let me give you a couple details about it. It's Image Comics. It's done by Rick Remender. The artist is Andre Rahu, who he follows me on Instagram and has chatted with me a couple times. So shout out to him. The colorist is Chris O'Halloran, and the letterist is Russ Wooten. And just the quick little summary. Oh, the average critic rating on this too is 9.5, 8.3 from readers. That average is too low for the readers, in my opinion. And also, let me go back to Bloodstained Teeth. The 8.6 critic and 8.2 reader. Summary of righteous thirst for vengeance. When an unassuming man stumbles upon a dark web contract assassin's vicious plot to kill an innocent target, he turns himself into one. The professional meets road to perdition in this story of a family's unlikely guardian being hunted by rich and powerful men who are used to getting away with everything. And the other thing too, dope. My favorite use of nudity in a comic was in this series as well. Like, it was just the best. Right. And I'm not talking like, hot, sexy woman. I'm just talking like gross, fat, naked man. Like, just brilliant. Brilliant. Okay, let me take a shot here at your number one, because I honestly, I'm worried, because I know that this one, what I'm thinking of, it's been going on for a while. Like, I think there's at least 3 volumes out for it.
Mm-hmm. The third one just finished up.
It's that Texas Blood.
It is that Texas Texas.
Ding, 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 ding. I got it.
Ding, 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 ding. We did really good. We got 2 matching ones, which was fantastic, and then we also knew 4. What the other one would do for number ones. Man, that Texas Blood is just it's everything I want out of a comic. There's never any dip. Every comic is always just has something in it that's worth reading. The art never fails. And something that I was thinking about this earlier, and I really wanted to say this, but it seems it feels like it's paying respects to like comics of old, because the art is very reminiscent of like older comics. The stories are very much just like Thrasher, like noir detective stories of just this cop trying to figure out these crazy murders and these crazy like occult stuff, and trying to figure out is this town cursed. And even the fact that I talked about this last week of it kind of being a hard way to follow the narrative, but it's still really cool with the fact that volume is like set in a different decade and season of this guy's life, not necessarily linear like in a straight line, but kind of going all over linear. Wow. This is what they come to us for. Linear.
How to say words.
Let me just since you read the this is the description for the volume 3, which just wrapped up this past year. Winter storm looms over Ambrose County in January of 1992. A local woman's body is discovered and believed to be the latest victim of a horrifying West Texas serial murder known as the Red Queen Killer. And so just how they use the snow in this, all the colors, the creepiness of the serial killer, just everything in this comic is done just super well. I did have a little bit of the criticism, kind of some of the storytelling aspects, but it's just minor nitpicky stuff, because I have such high standards for this comic, because it just
nothing's perfect.
No, and it's like I own a shirt for it. I have a sticker for it. I literally have here. I'll pull this because we're doing this. I have a letter in this envelope from the writer. I don't need to put my address on the internet. Making sure I'm not putting his address on the internet either, too. But maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Maybe you should.
But that'll be a special little treat for anybody who can find that. But I used to be a Patreon subscriber. Unfortunately, I'm not anymore. But I'll back to it at some point, and I got a letter from them. I also have this original. I might have talked about this on the podcast before, but an original Batman piece from. I mean, it's not like it's a scan, but that's I want to say Sean Phillips. but yeah, I really do. I also have a shirt. I think I already said this. I have a shirt from uh,
Yeah.
but man, I just can't get over how much I love that Texas Blood. It just is just a great, like I said, just genuinely what I look for in comics. I'm trying to. It's Chris Odin is the writer, and then Jacob Phillips is the artist from Image Comics. Um, yeah, it's just a good, good noir, spooky, just great story.
Right on.
And I feel the same way that you feel about a righteous thirst for vengeance. That like I just, I'm I was gonna say unfortunately, but fortunately, this is gonna keep going. So you're gonna hear me keep yammering on about it. But
Yeah.
we ranked him as number one. We'll see if maybe that Texas Blood Volume 4 will get number one again next year. We'll see. Maybe a
We'll
righteous thirst
see.
for vengeance will come out for a third and final arc or something.
Hmm. I mean, it could,
But
but I don't think that's the plan for it. Um,
no, I don't think so either.
right on. Well,
But
that was good, man. That was I feel like we both had a pretty solid top 10. And
oh my
yeah,
goodness, yeah, we
like we've
we
already
had
mentioned, we had two the same in the same positions, which is great. And
oh my gosh,
we
yeah.
both guessed our number ones, and that was exciting. It's been a good year of comics, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also like in a way, I am kind of looking forward to taking a break so I can actually catch up on some, but also just like spend time taking them a little more seriously, I guess, like not trying to like rush through anything. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, but next year, I've already I've said it to you backstage, but I have plans of getting rid of a lot of polls, especially from mainstream like Marvel and DC, and
Mm-hmm.
because I can just read those on the apps, and I want to spend more time like caring for the little guys and helping out there. So I'm looking forward to next year and picking this back up. So
Yeah. I was making my I was organizing my long boxes today. I was putting some comics in some bags and stuff, and I was organizing my to read pile. And I was excited because it's thick, but I'm like, hey, at least it's like there's stuff to read. Like I'm just
mhm.
spoiled for choice with like good stuff. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit daunting, but I am looking forward to just like being able to just dive into some stuff. I'm sure we'll do like some sort of roundup when we come back. But yeah, and before we get too far into it, just thank you for everybody who's come along with us along these first 30 episodes. This has been a
Yeah.
real treat. We've
It's
met
been
some really cool
fun.
people. We've gotten to have some fun guests on, and we're planning on having more on in the future. Um, yeah, and so we're just gonna keep on rocking in the free world and just doing what we can here at the Pool Box Pals.
And
But
before we get
yeah,
to
so we are
say it,
gonna be
yeah, but before we sign off, I want to say Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, or whatever you celebrate around that time, and Happy New
Hanukkah,
Year. Just
Kwanzaa,
I guess just in general,
Chinese New Year.
happy holidays to everybody out there.
Yeah,
And yeah, again, like thank you from me to you, my buddy, and to everybody who has been a part of this show and chatted with us online about comics. Just big thanks from this guy right here.
yeah. And we're just going to keep remembering to thank people. Thank you to Anthony Blackwell Jr., who allows us to use the streaming platform that we're on right now.
Hmm.
He pays for that. And yeah, it's a real blessing to us that he just allows us to do that. We support his Patreon, and you should too. That is
Hmm.
Anthony. If you should just he's a great content creator, does a lot of indie wrestling and gamings and beer stuff, and just even pop culture stuff as well. So definitely go look up Anthony Blackwell Jr. His link tree is Linktree, whatever it is, Anthony Blackwell Jr. He's on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. You can find him all there. But yeah, buddy, I'm gonna miss hanging out with you. My final
Well,
thanks is to my buddy you, my
we'll still
pal
be
you, I guess I should
chatting.
be saying.
We'll still
We
be
will be.
texting
Oh,
and sending pictures and
being
stuff.
all
So
bashful. Oh,
yeah.
you're
Oh,
so
well, I'm also just my wife texted me, and so I wanted to make sure it wasn't like like a massively
Here, speaking
important
of
thing.
texting you, while I'm saying my final goodbyes, my cat was sitting in my pool box or my long box while we were doing this. I sent you a picture of it, and I'll put it
good.
up on the screen. But
Let
there's
me
a nice little wholesome treat for you. My cat just sitting in the box with some comics. So yeah.
Oh, there it is. Oh, good guy.
there's a nice little holiday treat for everybody. From our
Sweet.
little family to yours, I hope you get plenty of comics in your chimney or whatever you
Same.
celebrate.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Signing off for the last time this year. You know what we got to say? That's comics, baby.
That's comics,
That's
baby.
comics, baby.
All right.
Oh,
Bye,
no.
everybody.